Hello everyone, today I'm presenting my project on evaluating mRNA COVID-19 vaccine safety and identifying potential causes of its side effects. So the agenda for today, I will go through the background and literature review of my research, and then I will go through my research objectives, then my methodology, the results of my research, then discussion and future research, some of my results, and then lastly, my attribution and references. So this is my research question. How can we evaluate the safety of mRNA vaccine by comparing its side effects to conventional vaccine and identifying potential causes of those side effects? So for this research, I took data from mRNA vaccine and a conventional vaccine. In this case, I chose influenza vaccine. So I compared the side effects, data on the side effects of those two vaccines and attempt to make a correlation between them and to see if there are any, and to identify the potential causes of those side effects. So the background of my issue, this is just to give a general background. So mRNA COVID vaccines, they uses the genetic material of the virus to trigger immunity, and it is one of the two major types of COVID vaccine on market, and it requires 2 doses of the vaccine to become effective for us to reach immunity. And the one I will investigate in this research is the Pfizer COVID mRNA vaccine. So vaccine acceptance rates. So here we can see a graph of many countries across the globe and their vaccine acceptance rates. And as we can see that some countries have their vaccine acceptance rates below 70%. And why is 70% important number is because in order for us to reach herd immunity, we need 70% of the entire population being vaccinated. And it is quite concerning that some countries have their vaccine acceptance rates lower than 70%, meaning that those percentage of people will not be able to get vaccinated since they don't want to. And it could be quite concerning for us in general to reach herd immunity. And now, like, more and more variants are coming up, such as Delta, and in many developed countries, we're getting an extra dose to ensure immunity. It is even more important for more and more people to be vaccinated in order for us to end the pandemic sooner. And so, why are people so hesitant to take mRNA vaccine? So, as you can see in the graph to the left, in the first row, we can see that 76% of the respondents said that they have very high concerns about the side effects of the mRNA vaccines. And furthermore, in the United States, 11% of people have missed second dose of COVID-19 vaccine, and which is also very important for you to get a second dose of the vaccine, is because you can only be immune from coronavirus if you take 2 doses of mRNA vaccine. 1 dose does not ensure your immunity. So since people are so concerned about the side effects, we can look at what the actual side effects are and maybe why people are so concerned about the side effects. So according to the World Health Organization, these side effects may occur: soreness and redness around the injection site, mild fever, tiredness, headache, muscle or joint aches. And as it says there, we can manage those side effects with rest and taking medicine for fever and pain. But some of those side effects, such as soreness and redness around injection site and fever, and sometimes muscle and joint aches, could appear concerning to some of the recipients. And what happens is some of the media could be putting way more attention on those rather concerning side effects and not looking at what side effects in general are. And here we also, on the right, we have another graph of the percentage recipients that has side effects different from first and second dose. So as we can see that it is quite concerning that 82% of the recipients of the vaccine experiences pain at injection site, and other side effects such as fatigue did increase from first to second dose, and muscle pain also increased from first to second dose, and it's the same thing to some other side effects. So, and there are other more adverse side effects compared to the common side effects, such as anaphylaxis. It is a type of severe allergic reaction to the vaccine. It happens 2 to 5 people per million, and there has been reports of death for 5,946 reports of death, which is 0.0018% of the current population that is being vaccinated. So let's look at what the vaccine components are and how do they help us to achieve the immunity. So for us, in order to understand what might causes those side effects. So the vaccine, so I'm first going to talk about the mRNA vaccine. So here is what a nanoparticle that is contained in mRNA vaccine look like. So we have the PEG that is around the nanoparticle. It is this type of stabilizer. And then we also have the phospholipids, which basically encapsulated the genetic code in order to deliver it into the cell. And then we have the mRNA, which is the genetic material that is used to when it goes into your body to produce the viral protein on the coronavirus, which is what mainly causes the immunization reaction to your body. And then we have the attenuated influenza vaccine, which here it's basically we have a weakened version of the original virus. So here, as you can see, the genetic code inside the virus, it has two colors, one's yellow and a green. The green part is representing the part that has been modified. And again, there's a genetic code, and it also has proteins surrounding it, which is also what mainly contributes to the immunization reaction. So here I will have a very short animation explaining how mRNA vaccines help us to achieve immunity from coronavirus. So here we can see that this is a syringe of the coronavirus vaccine, and here the light blue circles representing the nanoparticles that contains genetic material. They are not this big in real life. This is just used for demonstration and explaining how it works. So here we have one nanoparticle, and we are going to enlarge it to see what's inside of this nanoparticle. So we have the genetic material and the lipid surrounding it. And what happens when so now we see the lipid entering the cell, and it releases its genetic material into the cell. And what happens is there's an organelle called ribosomes that are responsible for making proteins. It basically like reads the genetic code in the mRNA, and then it produces the viral proteins that are on the coronavirus. So the coronavirus itself is not being reproduced. It is the surface proteins on them. So, and what happens to those surface proteins is that it is taken in by an antigen presenting cell. So basically antigen, the meaning of antigen is any molecule that can cause an immunization reaction. So what happens is the cell, the antigen presenting cell, it then presents the viral peptide, the protein from the protein on itself, which then another type of cell called T helper cell. It is immunization specialized cell. It basically takes in the shape, as you can see here, the shape of the virus peptide. Then it activates the B cell, which is responsible for making antibodies. And what those antibodies does is the next time that the coronavirus is in our body, it can identify those proteins. So it has memories of those proteins. And here, as you can see, it can identify them, and the immune system can further attack those virus. And so it's basically we're simulating a virus invading our cells and producing this antigen that will also can be used to attack the actual cell. Not the cell, the actual virus. So here you can see that this is the coronavirus, and what the antibodies does is that it is attached to proteins, and it also sends signals to other types of immunization cells, so they can engulf them or attack them, and we will be free from the virus. So here, this is another syringe of attenuated influenza vaccine. And again, the dark blue circles are representing the nanoparticles that contains the attenuated version of the virus. Again, this is not, the nanoparticles are not this big in real life. It's enlarged for demonstration. So we're going to look at one nanoparticle of the edited version of the virus. So here, as you can see, that its genetic code, it has two different colors, as yellow and green. So the green one is edited in order to weaken the virus, so we don't have the same severe reaction when the actual virus enters our body. So what happens to this edited version of the virus is that so first it enters the cell, and it replicates itself inside of the cell, and then it either uses up the materials inside the cell, or it is released by the cell into, again, the antigen presenting cell. So the edited version of the virus enters the cell, and the cell presents the viral peptide to our T helper cell. Here, our T helper cell. Again, the T helper cell recognizes the shape and sends signals to other types of immunization cells. Again, the B cell, which it will again produce antibodies that will recognize the surface proteins of the influenza virus. As you can see here, this version is the actual virus because the genetic code is not edited. It's all, as you can see, the color is all yellow. So what happens is the antibodies will again attach to the surface proteins of the influenza vaccine the influenza virus when it enters our cell, because from the weakened version we have already our B cells has already recognized and memorized the way. So in this case, the antibodies, in order to attack them and signal other types of cells inside of immunization cells inside our body to attack and eliminate this type of cell in order to keep us healthy. So there are several advantages and disadvantages of these two types of viruses. For mRNA vaccine, it has its own advantages. So mRNA vaccines can be developed using genetic sequence, making it faster in production. And it has no direct contact with the virus, since we are only using part of the virus, which is the surface protein of the virus. And it is able to closely mimic the natural process of infection. And there are also disadvantages, which is it is newer technology compared to the attenuated vaccines. There are risks such as unknown side effects. So we do not have enough knowledge. We do not have enough knowledge and time to learn about this type of vaccine before it is out, because we're currently experiencing a pandemic, and it's essential for us to provide as much as immunization to many people as possible. So that is one of the advantages. Disadvantages. So the attenuated virus vaccine, it has its advantages, which attenuated virus vaccine knowledge has been developed for a certain amount of time. We have relatively more knowledge on safety and side effects compared to mRNA, and it is comparably safer to use attenuated virus vaccines. Disadvantages: since the virus is weakened and the immunization effect does not last as long as mRNA, which uses genetic sequence of the virus. It cannot be produced without the live virus. Again, since the live virus, those genetically edited virus, they're being grown in labs and in egg cells and mammalian cells, which takes time, and it takes longer to produce the vaccines. So here are the first literature review I'm presenting. So I went to the CDC site and I looked at the data that they provide for side effects from Pfizer-BioNTech mRNA vaccine. So here we have several side effects. We have redness, swelling, pain at injection site, diarrhea, joint pain, fatigue, headache, fever, chills, and muscle pain and vomiting. I would like to point out several data here, and also because I'm going to select 5 side effects for and talk about it in my results section. I'm just going to point out some of the most important side effects. So here, as you can see, pain at injection site, again, 83.1% of the recipients experiencing that side effect, and also while other side effects like fever and vomiting, only 3.7% and 1.2% of the recipients are experiencing those 2 side effects. So, and my second literature review is about the ingredients that are included in the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines, in which we have, the mRNA, then the lipids, then we have the salt, the sugar, and the buffers. So in this ingredients list, the mRNA is the only active ingredient which contributes to our immunization process in our body, and we also have non-active ingredients, which are the lipids, salts, sugars, and the buffers. So here, the lipids. So one function of them is to encase the mRNA to deliver them into the cell. And I would like to point out this chemical called polyethylene glycol. It is used as a stabilizer, and it will be further investigated in this research because it is very likely that it contributes to the adverse side effects, anaphylaxis. And there are also other ingredients such as salt, sugar, and buffers. They are mostly used as add-ons in the vaccines. Next, this literature reviewed this paper. So it basically talked about how hypersensitivity of polyethylene glycol might occur anaphylaxis. So, and this literature is further proven with this case study, which the patient, 45-year-old woman, when she was receiving the mRNA vaccine, she had a reaction of anaphylaxis, in which the doctors in the hospital did a skin test on her with different concentrations of polyethylene glycol, and they found out that at a certain concentration she will have symptoms of anaphylaxis. So, which this will be further expanded in the results section. And here are the aims of my research. So first, identify major components of Pfizer vaccine. identify major components of COVID-19 vaccine and explain their role in helping the body to achieve immunity. Find potential cause for side effects and allergy through literature review and data analysis. And aim to evaluate which major component could be potential cause of side effects. Design an experiment to test out each possible major component and controlled group experiment. I will do a control group and an experimental group, and same experiment is performed on those two different groups. So the control group is the healthy mice and the experimental group is the sick mice that has one type of allergies. And I will then evaluate individual case studies with allergies and then indicate which groups of people with certain diseases would have risks in vaccination. Lastly, I will develop a website to share information to alleviate their concern and ease the hesitancy of vaccine to the public. And I will develop a website including the basic information of vaccines, reported side effects statistics, and updated researches on the cause of side effects to help people understand the vaccine thoroughly and thus overcome vaccine hesitancy and enhance vaccine uptake. And this objective will be part of future research. So I'll go through my methodology. This project is based on pure literature review, and I analyzed two different types of vaccines: Pfizer-BioNTech mRNA COVID-19 vaccine, attenuated influenza vaccine, and then we collected data on severe and normal side effects of influenza and Pfizer mRNA vaccines, and we attempt to make a correlation between the differences in the rates of side effects between them. Pfizer vaccine data are taken from the official CDC site, and influenza vaccine taken from the WHO and SingleCare. All data collected are formatted into forms of graphs or charts. And lastly, we also investigated on a single severe side effects, anaphylaxis, and it will be analyzed separately. So here are the results I've obtained from my investigation. So first, this is a comparison of common and severe side effects. So here, as you can see, we compared 5 different side effects, and in which the injection site irritation and headache, those 2 side effects, we have more Pfizer mRNA COVID-19 vaccine recipients experiencing them. But then we have vomiting, fever, and muscle aches and weakness, which we have more influenza vaccine recipients experiencing those side effects. We also found that 5 in 1 million, the literature review, we found that 5 in 1 million had anaphylaxis with Pfizer vaccine, and 0.7 in 1 million had anaphylaxis with influenza vaccine. Potential cause of anaphylaxis, we found that it could be to hypersensitivity of polyethylene glycol, PEG, which is also supported by literature. Recipients who are allergic to PEG display symptoms of anaphylaxis when receiving mRNA vaccine. This section, I will explain the case study I talked about in the literature review part. So the specific case study on anaphylaxis. So a 52-year-old woman suffered allergic reaction when receiving Pfizer vaccine shot, and she had previously had history of allergic reaction to products containing PEG, but the hospitals were not aware of this situation. So after she received the vaccine, she had a reaction of anaphylaxis, which then the hospital found out that she had a history of allergic reaction to products containing PEG, which then they tested PEG with different concentration on her skin. So they did a skin test on her, and she has symptoms again after the skin test of PEG 6000, which is a concentration of PEG particles. And since PEG is contained in most mRNA vaccine as a stabilizer for the nanoparticles that goes into our bodies, and So it could be one of the reasons why some people experiencing anaphylaxis, but the allergic reaction for PG is still very rare. Discussion of my results. So Pfizer vaccine is close to or less than the possibility of side effects to influenza vaccine, with an exception of pain at injection sites, and anaphylaxis occurred more among Pfizer recipients. Possibilities of potential causes of those side effects. It could be immune reaction or hypersensitivity of polyethylene glycol. So immune reaction, it could be to the common side effects such as fever and fatigue and pain and injection site, and hypersensitivity of polyethylene glycol, that's specifically to anaphylaxis. The case study showed potential testing procedure for determining the relationship between anaphylaxis and PG. And for the adverse side effects, the recipients will be relatively safer if we're able to identify the causes. If we're able to identify the causes of those adverse side effects, we can come up with potential solutions that will help them to avoid those adverse side effects that could be life-threatening. Future research, I will design an experiment to test out each major component of the Pfizer vaccine and test on each major component on a controlled group, which are healthy mice, and experimental group of mice. So that contains one type of allergy, most likely one allergic to PEG. And they will each be injected with different concentrations of PEG and test if PEG would cause anaphylaxis. Attribution. This research is supported by Rapidamic lab, and special thank you to Dr. Wen Junli, my advisor, and big thank you to my parents who founded this project. So here are the references and the sources I used in this research. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.